I'm embarrassed, and I'm ashamed I played a part in this devilish game, making your common sense perish. But I ain't taking the full blame, cause most of you chumps running around here ain't never had strict parents. All of your brain cells rotten from weed. You feeling like if you ain't got it, life's not as complete. You having sex with every motherfucking body you see, with a past so dark that Satan to jump out of his seat. But still you out in these streets thinking you hot as can be, without the knowledge to lead, so you just follow the sheep, making sure your lame swagger's all polished and clean, while your favorite rapper's like, yeah, he got it from me. You been brainwashed by a fake life that you used to living. When I say the word fun, what do you envision? Probably drinking and smoking out with your crew and chilling with clueless women you tryna bang, bumping New Edition. Is that all you think life really is? Well, if so, then you're a fucking idiot. I honestly feel like grabbing your head and hitting it. Matter of fact, you don't even deserve a brain. Give me it! Do you even have any goals aside from bagging these hoes and packing the ball? Well, let me guess, no. You're only in school because your parents make you go, and all you do is play beer pong and hang out with the bros. Yo, society's got you living for a whack cause you're a fucking adult with no skills at all. You don't read any books or play ball. You don't draw. You literally do nothing at all. Still you fiend for the glamorous fruits you don't have, cause you idolize rappers that do, and all they say is I got money in a stack to the roof. And now you think that it's gonna magically just happen to you? How? Your lazy ass don't commit to labor. You pick something up, try it out, and put it down 2 minutes later. Then you complain about your life cause it ain't getting catered. Now whoever tries to call you on your bullshit's a hater. You wanna succeed, you have to try. Or one day you'll get older and regret it all cause you can't provide. Your friends are lowlifes, don't act surprised. Look, just cut the bad fruit off of the tree. Make the sacrifice.
Do you feel like you got more radicalized?
Absolutely. And, simultaneously, and the same could be said for a lot of people out there, my drinking got worse. My drug use got worse. Like, so many people out there intoxicated.
That's what I can see it. I used to be a total alcoholic drug addict. I can see that energy, right? That real, like, not caring and being, because when you're more messed up, the less your inhibitions, like, just go out the window. You'll do anything. Yeah. Was that encouraged, drug usage or drinking?
Definitely by individuals and friend groups, but then you got the drug dealers going out there and they're using that to do what they're going to do. Large crowds, no one's looking, the police are busy. We're all smoking pot. It's Oregon, so
yeah, but I don't even think of pot. Yeah, pot I don't think of as a drug. I think more stuff like even drinking's gnarly. You can become very angry and disconnected, and psychedelics, if you're using stuff in the wrong way, it could be very negative. You can have a glass of wine, you can't have 2 bottles of wine. Totally different, right? So wow, dude, this is so fascinating.
And these are the people who are all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Were you guys taught about diversity, equity, inclusion, or was it just to show up and go battle?
I think most of what my generation understands about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's memes. My entire generation, so many people around me, they seriously learn through memes. And the worst people at the protest, the most politically active, they're the shit posters a lot of the time. So you see 24/7 meme. This is why I had to get off social media. I haven't been on Facebook or Twitter or anything for the last 2 years because It is a drug. Like, I put one of those blockers on my phone because I couldn't even delete the app. The first day I blocked it, I tried to instinctually open Facebook, I think like 140, 150 times, knowing that it was blocked. So, like, to know that it has that effect on people and that most of people's information is, and they might even see it as a meme. They might be like, oh, well, this is just a picture with information that I agree with. This isn't a meme. It's like, no, that's a meme. And you hear the way they talk too, especially at the protests. That's one thing that would really piss me off is I at least wanted to have a genuine conversation for all the stupid shit I was doing. But I could hear people talking in memes and slogans, and they were pulling things from Facebook and Tumblr. And I'm just like, you can see the literal programming in people's minds. Like, a lot of what people believe about communism or anarchy and all of this, it's the internet, it's memes. Like, people have to like get rid of their social media. Like, we need some sort of mass, like, I don't think I'm allowed to say the word suicide, mass social media deletion campaign where people just pull the plug and say, we're not going to support this anymore, because those little machines, those little programs, they get you so worked up and uneducated. It's the same problem with TikTok. I know there's a lot of problems with the TikTok bill, Patriot Act 2.0, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't negate from the reality that TikTok is a weapon, and it makes our kids dumber and dumber and dumber. And it makes the Chinese kids smarter and smarter and smarter over there.
That's
So
true.
it's like, that's a weapon.
like to say, but you aren't. You're somebody who woke up. So you started waking up and you started saying, what am I doing?
Yeah, and it got really intense. And one of my good friends was, they were with me at a lot of the protests, and they brought the trans with them. They turned Black Lives Matter into trans Black Lives Matter, so they had to come and transify everything.
Wow.
And they were trying to kind of coach my mind into what I was doing wrong, into my implicit biases, and how I shouldn't listen to this or I shouldn't say these certain things.
That's right.
And this friend was a sex worker, which I fully admire. I tattoo. That's can be pretty underground.
Sure.
That's something you really got to put together. You got to know what you're doing. And, this friend, she did that, and she had all the business ins and outs. And unlike a lot of these OnlyFans girls that I saw, I was like, you're putting together a solid freaking business. I'm here to support you. Mm-hmm. And she took that level of support to be like, oh, you're gonna support me here. And, tried ultimately to coerce me into being the voice of a FinDom scheme in which I could clearly be more aggressive and they could just be the pictures and all that. And then I could fucking yell at these men and I could degrade them and then I could make big bucks. And from the get-go, I was like, look, after a while of pushing it, I definitely started kink shaming, but I was like, look, this just sounds like something these guys need therapy for. I don't think I'd rather tattoo,
Hilarious. Wow.
But yeah, and it became so prevalent. But the thing is, the more I tried to get out of that and the more I tried to explain what I felt was wrong with it, the more that came down to my political beliefs. Well, are you anti-sex worker, or why are you kink shaming, or it's okay because of this, or it's legal because of this? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really care what makes it ethical or legal. I am kind of put off by it, and you can do you, girl. You do you. But
Right on. That's not kink shaming. That's saying I don't want to do it, and it's go ahead and do your own thing. I was all in that space. And I hate when they start using all these words, kink shaming, everything's shaming. No, I just don't want to do it. And I don't see any value in it. If this guy wants to do it, then but you see how they do that? That's gaslighting, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the same person, at the same time, I was starting to take an interest in why getting into the community. So I was listening to people like Alan Walker and the stuff coming out of the John Hopkins Institute.
Oh God.
So I was becoming familiar with the language, and then I noticed that she started using that language.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Yeah. Holy and then I got a lecture one day because admittedly I was fired up. I saw some pedophile story and I'm just like, fuck these motherfuckers, they deserve the death penalty, yada yada yada. I'm going off. And then she's like, well, it's a sexual attraction you can't help. And speaking as a sex worker, I would much rather someone have that attraction, have sex with me than have sex with a child.
What are these people insane? What does that have to do with sex work? First off, keep those two separate. Are you insane? This is why people hate us, because these weirdos are saying weirdo stuff about kids. And nope, sorry, nope. Is off the table, shut up, and you can't recall it, you can't rename it MAPS, and that makes it all normalized. What are you talking about, people? It's sick, dude. These are kids.
But analytical thinking. I wonder if we would have a 50-50 society. I feel like if people knew the truth about things, and I do believe in objective truth in many areas of life. But I feel like if people knew the truth, we wouldn't be a 50-50 society, because there's certain things there are certain things that are just true, like focusing and obsessing on yourself, becoming an utter narcissist, which I see happening. I see that everything being about what can I gain, what pleasure can I have, as opposed to how can I contribute to a society and make things better for multiple people, is something that young people seem like they're not being told how to do, even how to do it. Do you think that that's correct? Do you think that there is a push towards being self-obsessed?
Absolutely. And it makes it so hard to have a conversation, because it's really so many people. It's so hard to make friends because you see it in people. You see the whatever that word is. You see the self-flatulation. You see the narcissism. You see they just want drugs and sex and to talk about all these frivolous things and how they want to burn down society. And it's just like, it's so isolating to know that it's so many people that are on this path to where it's like something bad happens, they have no problem sitting down and crying about it and posting that on Facebook and getting depressed over it. But it's like, we're not, it's like I said, we're not doing any solutions. We're not having any analytical thinking. People think that you need to only have that in certain spaces, like when you're online or when you're with a certain party. You need to take that with you every aspect of your life, every single place that you go, or at least try to. I know it's an impossible standard, but it's a standard that we can all strive to be better on. Like, we have to be better in all avenues of our life. We can't just take a break from this. And we have to like teach each other and teach ourselves what we weren't taught. But I think that's what's important about people like you or people like Julie or said people like Joe Rogan or Buck Angel. Like, I really think that this is where the critical thinking is going to start to come in, because now it's creating a web of people that it's just the new thing. I will sit here and watch a podcast for 24 hours a day, where I used to just watch, Sopranos or Star Wars or something on Disney. Like, now I feel guilty doing that, because it's like I could be listening to someone give me something real. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are trying to follow that, and we need to crank down on the government's authoritarian tactics, because they are trying to suppress people like you. They're trying to suppress people like me. They're trying to suppress anybody with an alternative point of view. And as soon as we can break those systems, and maybe this is the old Antifa talking, but dismantle some of the things that got put back in the last couple of years, like CRT and DEI and all these systems, that it really was the goal to get those implemented in the colleges. If you can strip it out, get it stripped out quickly, and wake people up to what's actually happening, and tell them, no, this is racist, this is homophobic, this is a very, very dark thing, then it's all going to fall apart. It's like with the detransitioner thing. That's only been going on a few years, but once the gays started getting attention, the gays know how to organize. So now that's falling apart pretty quick. And that can happen in so many different avenues for so many different people.
Personally, myself, say I picked up a baby that's 5 months old, 8 months old, 4 months old, and escorted them to a sponsor. And how the hell do you realize who a sponsor is for this child when they can't even talk?
So who are, that's awful. The whole thing is awful, but who are these sponsors then? I know some reports are that these are mostly, at least in Florida, from reports I've heard, wealthy Americans who are paying for these children. But first of all, who are these sponsors? Do you when you interact with them, is there a representative for the sponsors that you're meeting face to face, or is it the sponsor, his or herself, who is meeting you face to face?
The sponsor is supposed to be meeting me face to face, because their ID is the one that I can only accept. So they're supposed to be at the airport, but a lot of the times it does not happen. And these sponsors are supposedly family members. They can be an aunt or an uncle. They're supposedly a stepmother. They're supposedly a stepfather. They're supposedly a sister or a brother or a cousin. Sometimes they're even family friends. But it's like, how do you prove that this is a family friend? Or how do you prove this is a cousin when you don't even do DNA testing anymore at the border when it comes to the current administration? And how are you? So these people are just calling up and saying, hey, yeah, that's my cousin, and that's it. I'm willing to take him in.
And you as an employee, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you thought you were reuniting families up until you didn't. Like, what was the moment you decided, wait a second, I need to blow the whistle on this. This is not what I thought it was.
So yes, you get into this type of work because you think you can make a difference. You think it's these kids who are, and they have been through a lot, but you want to help them out and make them smile by buying them a snack at the airport, a toy at the airport, because children are innocent. No matter what, children, they don't know what they're doing, and they should be kept out of issues that are tearing our country apart. So you try to make their day better, but then I started hearing horror stories from my coworkers. My coworkers used to tell me my child that I escorted was crying because they said that they did not know the sponsor that I was taking them to. And they were telling me, please, sir, I don't want to go to the sponsor. I don't know them. They at the campsite where I was, at the Walmart shelter where I was, they told me that I supposedly know the sponsor, that the sponsor is supposedly my uncle or my aunt, but I've never met him. I don't remember. And my coworker would say, but I don't care. I still handed the child off, even though the child was crying, because I wanted to go out and party. And the reason why my coworker says that is because once we had the child off, we're allowed to go have our own thing. You know, if we're in Los Angeles and we hand the children off at the airport, we're allowed to go out into the city because our flight doesn't happen until the next day, our return flight. So the rest of the night we're free. And a lot of my coworkers were 18, 19 years old, 21 years old, taking care of teenagers. And their main worry was, oh, man, I want to go to the bar already. I want to go to a concert that's happening in downtown LA, but the sponsor is taking forever, or this child is crying, and I just want to hand them off. So they would hand the children off, even though they were showing signs of, I don't know the sponsor. And then I used to think my coworkers were lying or they were exaggerating, because I would tell myself my coworker just wants attention, so they're acting like, and as sick as it is, you know, people like attention that way. And I would brush it off, saying there's no way that's true. But then one day I received an email from my boss admitting in a company email that we handed off children to the wrong people. And all the stories that I would hear from coworkers immediately just hit me hard in my face. And I had a big panic attack and I couldn't breathe. And the reason why is because I also would get stories from kids where a child wouldn't want to talk. And when I would get to the sponsor would tell me he's not talking because his sibling was with him and she got raped in Mexico and she got murdered in Mexico as well. So these children go through crazy situations like that. And then they tell me these stories. And then you get an email from your own boss telling you, we fucked up. We gave children to the wrong people. And the reason why it's so sickening is because in my office alone, there was about 300 of us, 200 to 300 of us. I would say at the most 400 employees. And each one of us can sometimes have 6 kids, 8 kids at a time. And the word around the company was that the boss had found records of us handing off kids to the wrong people for an entire month. So each day there's escorts going out. So that's thousands of kids for an entire month that were handed off to the wrong people. And could you just imagine a company that's working for the government admits in an email to we gave kids to the wrong people? You just lose your entire faith in the company, in the system. And it's like, what am I doing here? You know, I can't be part of this anymore.